Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and welcome to Let's Get Classy, Learn About Positive Interactions webinar on behalf of Early Learning Coalition and our education team. Thank you to all who participated in our previously presented webinars. And just to remind you, you can find all the recordings for all the webinars previously presented on our ELC website, ELC Abroad at elcabroad.org. Um, Sorry, I messed up the website. No, just go to our website. So we would like to start out by introducing ourselves. And first we go my wonderful co-presenter, Miss Stephanie. Hi, Steph.
Hi, Agnes, and hello, everyone. Good evening. As Agnes said, my name is Stephanie, and I've been in this field for around 20 years. I've had many different opportunities to work with children in the classroom as a teacher, a coaching specialist, and a coordinator of many different large projects for different organizations. Right now, I'm currently Quality and Education Coaching Specialist here at the ELC of Broward. I have lived in Florida for 5 years, and I enjoy walking in the neighborhood with my daughter or snuggling with her on the couch, watching Pixar. And also, we're becoming dinosaur experts slowly, as that is the new interest in the home. So that's a little bit about myself, and I'll bring it back to Agnes.
Thank you, Stephanie. So my name is Agnieszka Bodi, and I'm also Quality and Education Coaching Specialist for ELC of Broward, serving providers, children here, and families. I was born in a small city in Poland in Eastern Europe, so I'm glad to be here. Actually, that was my 20th anniversary on May 1st coming to America, so it's been a journey. I brought my master's.
Happy anniversary!
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, it was a little emotional May 1st, but it was a long journey. So I'm glad to be here. I learned a lot. I brought my master's here from Europe and get evaluated by American standards. So I love different cultures, food. I'm fascinated with other cultures. So this is the place for me to be. So a little bit about us. Let's move on with our webinar. So next we go into tell you a happy appreciation week, dear teachers. Teaching is a work of heart, and you do have a big heart because you love this job. You wouldn't do this if you wouldn't love it. So thank you so much from myself, and I'm sure Stephanie wants to say something too.
Oh, just absolutely thank you. As an adult, with a child in preschool, it is so important to have wonderful teachers in these classrooms. And thank you for bringing your time tonight on this Tuesday evening to learn more about a subject in your profession. So I just really appreciate you all for being here and appreciate all the hard work you've done in such an unpredictable year and how resilient you all have become.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's move on with our attendance, credits and posters and evaluation, a little bit logistics here. So remember, all this training from ELC Broad are in service hours only. Your training certificate will be emailed within 24 hours to the email you provided to us upon registration. And in order to be marked as attended, remember you have to see the presentation. So you have to log into your computer or download the GoToWebinar app on your smart device. And just calling does not register you, so you have to see and hear the presentations. Upon completion of the training, a post-test of 5 questions and training survey of 8 questions will launch. So please do complete all the informations because we do value your input, and we would like to know what kind of topics of trainings would you like us to present for you in the future months. So next, let's move on and go over that propriety interest policy of Broward County ELC. This is a policy that if instructors have a vested interest in any product, instrument, device, service, or materials that may be used in the learning event, they must disclose this interest to the learners. The instructors do not have vested proprietary interest in any of the content, materials, or resources presented. If there is a breach of this policy, please contact us at ELCB training@elcbroward.org. Okay, so a little bit housekeeping for our webinar. So as you can see on your right-hand side of your screen, you have this GoToWebinar control panel. So you can click on the orange rectangle with the white arrow, and that allow you open or close the GoToWebinar panel. And you can have the few different options there in the question. When you click on the triangle, you can type any questions or say hello to us, and then handouts. We have wonderful handouts for you. So click on the triangle with the handouts, and the list of the handouts will allow you to click on them individually, and the PDF file will open up, and you're going to be able to download those handouts. So let's move on with our agenda. So today we're going to talk to you about how do we enhance and facilitate positive interactions with infants and toddlers. Stephanie will talk to us about that, and then I will talk to you about how we facilitate those positive interactions with pre-K children, and then we're going to reflect a little bit on those questions. What can we do more effectively in the classroom? So let's move on to our learning outcomes. So after today's presentation, we hope that you're going to be able to recognize how to facilitate effective responsive interactions with infant, toddlers, and pre-K children, and you're going to be able to reflect on those strategies that will help you be more effective and enhance those interactions with children in your classroom. So next, Stephanie will take over, and she'll go over all class domains for all 3 ages, and then she will give us a bunch of great strategies and ideas how to facilitate positive interactions with infants and toddlers. Take it away, Steph.
Thank you, Agnes. So we want to start with introducing our class domains and our class tool. We want everyone to know that it is a research-based, nationally regarded quality measurement for all young children. It assesses how well teachers actually interact with children, including expectations for classrooms being organized into these different domains. And I want to take your eyes to the expectations for the classroom. We're going to see warm, positive environment with trusting relationships. We also are looking for daily routines that are organized and disruptions are minimized. And then children are supported to learn concepts, develop language, and connect ideas through dialogue and play. You can see pre-K has 3 domains, a little, and then toddlers, just 2. And then for our infants, we have 1. So let's start with our first domain and talk about our infants. In our infants, you can see our age, 0 to 18 months, and we're looking about how do we facilitate positive interactions with our infants. But first, we would like to know what you think. We are asking you to fill in the blank. Teachers build connections with infants by what? Sitting close to them on the floor, making eye contact, joining in their activities, or perhaps it's all of the above. So we're going to launch our first poll to see what you think about this sentence. And it is launched, so you just make your selection, and I appreciate everyone who is voting. All right, we're halfway into our votes. Everyone keep voting. We'd love to get as many votes in as possible. Perfect, we are at 60%. We'll give it a couple more seconds. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's close it. And I can't wait for you to see this, Agnes. I'm going to share the results with everyone. This is outstanding.
Yay.
I don't know what to say. 100% know our learning outcome already about how teachers build connections with infants. I don't think I've ever seen 100% in a live webinar. So I'm so proud of everyone. So we have a smart group with us today, so they're ready for some new knowledge. So let's continue on with our infant class domain, which is called responsive caregiving. And what that is exactly is we're looking at the teachers and infants having warm, supportive relationships. And responsive caregiving, this big idea is divided into 4 smaller ideas. You can see here on your screen. We're going to go over them all now. So let's look at all these dimensions. or different parts of responsive caregiving. So our first one we have is relational climate. And that's when teachers are physically close to the infants, show them affection, smile, laugh, use calm voices, communicate intentions, and show a lack of adult negativity. And then we also have teacher sensitivity. And that is when teachers consistently, quickly, and effective, those are very important words, respond to the infants. They are aware of each infant in the classroom and are attentive to the infant's needs, whether they're verbalizations, clues. And then we look at facilitated exploration and watch teachers take an active role in the infant's experiences and intentionally provide them with the support and opportunities that they need to really guide their engagement and development. And language is very important in all the age groups, but we have early language support here, and that is what teachers intentionally expose infants to language, encourage and expand the infant's communications, such as imitating or repeating sounds and providing words for the infant's communication. So we're going to go through all 4 of these areas now and talk about what we can do to enhance these areas. So it's not so much about remembering the terminology, it's about remembering what we can do in our classrooms with our children every day to enhance our interactions. So we're going to first see what we can do to create a more positive relational environment in your classroom. And the first idea is we're going to get physically close to the infants and share in their expectations. So we want experiences. So we really want you to join the infants during tummy time or even when they're playing on the floor with toys. And be sure to distribute your time with all of the infants in your classroom. The next one is very easy. We show positive emotions with our infants. So that means we're going to smile and laugh with them, be gentle, warm, and calm. And then we're going to freely show them verbal and physical affection. You want to speak to the infants with an affectionate tone and use very positive words and give hugs and rubs and lots of verbal affection. And then we're going to show respect for the infants. For example, you really want to let them know what you will do to them before you do it. So before that diaper change, you're going to inform them that you're going to give them a diaper change before you act upon them. So now, what can we do to become more sensitive to the infant's needs? Well, there's lots of things we can do. We can learn about the infant's preferences and their verbal or nonverbal cues. So you're going to carefully monitor the cues, and that will really help you respond effectively to each child. And then we really want to adjust your response based on their reactions to your attempts to meeting their needs. Because of course, it may take a few different times or strategies to know what is successful to meet the individual infant's needs, since all infants need different things at different times, but you continue to try until their needs are met. And then we really want to see everyone keeping an eye on all of the infants in the classroom. So regularly checking in with the infants verbally, physically, and staying aware of the infant's cues by really turning your body to easily look around the classroom. So that might mean you might have to feed infants in a different way, but you want to adjust your body so you can see everyone in the room. And then it's very important to acknowledge infants' emotions, but what we really are talking about is not only the positive, but the negative emotions. So the infants are really feeling validated about their emotions, and it lets them know that their feelings really matter. And then we're going to acknowledge cues in a timely manner. You're going to help those infants feel safe and secure by letting them know that you are aware of their needs. So you want to make sure that they know that you're a sense of security. And then you're going to develop individual routines so the classroom is a predictable place for infants. So you're going to have consistent and individualized supports for your infants in your classroom. Each one might be a little bit different because each infant is a little different. But what's really important is during these routines that the infants have trust that you want to make them feel calm and happy, and they have trust in that you will be able to do that. So now we're going to look at what you can do better to facilitate exploration in your classroom with your infants. So the first one, you're going to play and talk with the infants throughout the day. Talking all day long. So you're going to move around the classroom and consistently be involved with the infants. So you're going to talk to them during the diapering or a bottle feeding about what's going on in that moment. You're going to sit with them and join in their experiences, such as actually playing with them with the toys or the blocks or reading those books together. And then you want to watch infants and follow their interests. So focusing on the infant's interests to help them engage in learning and exploration. So if you're reading a book with an infant and they suddenly look at a rattle, you just stop and ask the infant if he or she would actually like to play with the rattle instead. Just wait a moment, and the infant who is focused on playing with the toy, when he or she is also finished it. So we want to wait before we transition to these children. Want to make sure they get time to explore their objects. And this one's always fun. We want to imitate infants' actions and then go a step further. And what's that step further? So while you're playing, you watch the infants and you mirror their actions. So this motivates the children to continue what they are doing. It helps practice their skills. They can see what their actions actually look like. And it helps them also learn about other ways to use those materials. And then we want to provide infants choice whenever possible. Choice is so effective. Giving infants choices supports their independence and follows their interests. I know it sounds silly to say, how can we give infants choice? But we can. It's as simple as saying, look at these toys. Which one would you like to play with? While showing them different options, such as a ball or a doll or a rattle, what have you, in your classroom. And then we're going to stretch those infants' experiences and really help them to do things on their own. You're going to interact with them to get more out of the experience than they normally would on their own. So what are you doing there to enhance their experience that is more effective than if you weren't there at all? So if an infant per se is playing with a jack-in-a-box, you're going to show them how to push it down, how to close the box, then show them how to crank that handle and let it pop out again. Or, for example, while playing with a rattle, you can have the infant change how they shake it and show them and ask them to shake it up high or down low. And then finally, during this exploration and this facilitation of exploration, we want to really pay attention to the cues of our infants becoming too overstimulated. So we want to notice when we're getting a little too involved with their play. So this can happen a lot when we're using noisemakers or musical instruments. So you really want to notice the infant's reaction to your actions. And then if the infants turn their heads or push away, you can be sure that they are no longer have interest for whatever you're presenting to them. So we want to respect that decision on their part. So, like I said, early language is very important, and we're going to discuss a few areas here, what we can do for early language support in our infant classroom. We're going to consistently expose the infants to language. We're going to talk throughout the day. You're going to describe what you do during routines, such as mealtime or diapering a child, telling them exactly what you're doing as I'm taking the wipe out of the container, I'm putting the wipe on your skin, and it is washing your skin. You're going to talk about everything that is happening in that moment. And then we want to initiate and also imitate the sounds with infants. So you're going to expand on their vocalizations and introduce new sounds by verbalizing it for them. So you can add words to their conversation. So don't be afraid to use complex language with the infants. And we're going to label and describe objects in the classroom. Use their interests. Where are they looking, or what are they playing with? Their interests, such as objects they're exploring or pictures and books they enjoy. Make sure you're labeling those objects in the classroom, labeling those pictures in the book, so they are being exposed to a lot of different words. And then finally, we want to work to model conversations with our infants. So that means to look and listen for different attempts of communication and to respond with increased intention and attention. So for nonverbal infants, you can pause and make eye contact just before you continue your conversation. So you're really showing them there's a give and take within conversation. So next, to wrap this all up, we're going to see a wonderful video that's called Baby Talk, which is a video demonstrating early language support. However, I believe it's a very great video showing us all different aspects of relational with all the different dimensions of the infant domain. So let's take a look. And if you see any of the examples that we just spoke about, you can definitely type them into the chat box and let us know what you've observed that we have discussed together.
Look at the circle. Oh, you found a lot of books. Do you want to see what is inside the book? This one are the puppies. Roof, roof, roof. You want to taste all the books? You want to have a taste of all the books? Okay, you still want the puppy books? Okay, let's look at it too. You have so many books to look at, Lawson. You want that? Okay, should I read that? Okay, let's see. My face. This one talks about my face. Oh, look at the different faces, Lawson. Let me see this face. Oh, that's Lawson's face. Oh, that's Lawson's face. Lawson's cheek. Lawson's chin. Lawson's nose. Lawson's mouth. Do you still want to taste the books, or you want to get some books? Get one book, any one you want to read. You want to read that? Twinkle, twinkle, little stars. Go get it, Lawson. Go get the ball. You want to get another one? All right. Go ahead. Ball. That's a purple ball. You see the ball with some holes in it. I see you stick your finger in the hole. Are you testing the spiral ball? Yeah.
All right, so that was Baby Talk, an infant video demonstrating early language support. However, I believe you can see a lot of different areas of responsive caregiving for our infants. There was relational climate, the teacher sensitivity. We could see her being really sensitive and responsive to the child's needs and interests. We had facilitated exploration as she was taking the child's leads and looking at the books together with him and telling him and encouraging him to go get a book that he was interested in. And of course, throughout the entire video was wonderful examples of language support with the teacher and the infant. So let's move on to our next age group, which are our toddlers. Now you can see here our toddlers in our class tool are 19 to 35 months old. So now we're going to ask ourselves, we're going to think about this next age group and how do we facilitate positive interactions with our toddlers. And instead of one domain, toddler class has two domains. So we look at one large idea of emotional and behavior support, and then we have this another additional idea of engaged support and learning. So we're going to discuss both of them. So first, emotional and behavior support is all about when teachers help children develop warm, supportive relationships. They experience excitement about learning, develop independence, and participate in classroom activities. Now, emotional and behavior support is divided into 5 different categories you can see here. Some look familiar from our previous domain. But first, before we go into detail, we have another poll for everyone. So hope you're all ready for this. Tell me if it's true or false. We're curious to see how we're doing with our learning objectives, and we are going with our webinar this evening. So tell us if providing infants with consistent expectations help them develop self-regulation. So we are going to launch this poll for you. And if you could just take a moment to answer, we would appreciate it. And it is launched now for you. All right, we already have 34% of you have voted. Thank you so much. Keep the votes coming in. We want to hear from everyone. All right, we have 65% voted, and we're going to keep the poll open for another 10 seconds. All right, and we are going to close our poll, and let's look at the results. So awesome, everyone. So let's see, that is 94% of you are right on target with our learning outcomes, because it is true, providing toddlers with consistent expectations help them develop self-regulation. We'll get into that more, but that is true. So excellent understanding of what toddlers need with their expectations and how it supports their development. So we are going to hide that poll now and continue on with emotional and behavior support. Okay, so we look at emotional behavior support is divided into 5 areas or dimensions, and we look at positive climate. And that is when the emotional connection, respect, and enjoyment demonstrated between teachers and children with each other. That's the emotional connection in the classroom. And then we have negative climate, which we don't want to see, which is the level of expressed negativity, such as anger, hostility, sarcasm, aggression, exhibited by teachers and or the children. There are some areas that we look at what the teacher is doing, and there are some areas that we look at what the teacher and the children are doing. You'll notice as we continue. And then once again, we're looking at teacher sensitivity, and specifically with toddlers, the teacher's awareness and responsivity to the children's words, their cues, their behavior, their bids for attentions, and their needs. So teachers anticipate where the children may have challenges during certain activities and provide appropriate levels of support. And then we're going to look at the regard for child perspectives. So teachers intentionally and consistently place an emphasis on children's interests, motivations, and point of view. You promote children's independence by providing them with choices and helping them learn through active exploration. And then behavior guidance. So our behavior guidance with toddlers is the degree to which teachers proactively, keyword here, proactively support children's positive behaviors to help children understand classroom expectations, manage out the classroom, that enable children to self-regulate and actively participate in activities. So that's a lot of information. So we're going to break it down for you to see what do these all look like in action and what do we want to add more of in our toddler classroom. So what we're talking about when we see more positive climate, you want to join in the children's play. So really get involved in playing with the toddlers. If you're rolling the cars back and forth, this really helps some children because they need extra support, perhaps to engage in different types of play, such as imaginative play. So you joining in really allows you to model and expand their play in different areas. And the next one is wonderfully easy. It's laugh with children. So with our toddlers, of course, we're going to be enthusiastic and smile and laugh with the children and really enjoy those fun moments with the toddlers. And then if we do this, children will likely enjoy the classroom environment if you communicate how much you enjoy spending time with the children in your classroom. So you're really modeling how you feel about the classroom will affect how they feel about the classroom. Continuing with modeling, we want to model and encourage respectful language. So when speaking with the children, we're going to use words that communicate respect. Again, we want to hear please and thank you, you're welcome. Also call the children by name and encourage them to use respectful language themselves. And explain what you're doing physically before actually moving the child. So before you pick a child up for a diaper change, you're going to say it's time to change your diaper, and then you can go and pick them up. And then lastly, another wonderful one that is easy to do is to help each and every child feel special. You want to help children feel welcomed and nurtured and special in your classroom. So position yourself at their level while you're speaking to them. Show the children that they have your full attention by approaching them always with warmth and orienting yourself towards them and establishing eye contact, really connecting with each child. Next, we're going to see what you can do to become more sensitive to the children's needs. So remember that toddlers whose caregivers consistently notice and respond to their needs are going to be more willing to take on risks and explore, which leads to learning. So what can we do to get this happening? Well, first of all, you want to get to know each child. Every child will not participate or interact in exactly the same way. So understanding that each child's needs and what they individually are will really help teachers to individualize their responses to each child and what interactions occur between the teacher and the child. And you want to be available to the children. So since young children feel free to explore when they have that supportive adult nearby, and you want them to help them to understand that you are available to support them when they are needed, when you're needed. So for example, you say, I will sit beside you in case you need me. So they have that supportive adult nearby, so they're ready to go take on more risks and explore the classroom. And of course, we're going to continue to be attentive to those cues. Children learn to trust teachers to provide them with support when teachers respond consistently and individually to children's cues and needs. That's where you start to develop that really strong sense of trust. And also, we're going to acknowledge emotions once again. Remember, this helps children know that having strong feelings is normal and we're accepting how they feel. For example, you can just simply say, that made you angry. And you also help validate their emotions and help them identify their feelings. And then still want to keep an eye for those nonverbal behaviors. So observe nonverbal behaviors while you're working with your students and your toddlers. Look at their body language and their facial expressions. And then you'll be able to help children who are showing those difficulties of understanding or participating in the activities. And then, of course, we're going to understand children's feelings. So we want to match your feelings, emotions, mood to your children's needs when responding to them. So, for example, of course, we're going to smile to encourage children, but we're going to also have a serious face when a child is sad about another child taking away a toy. This also starts their journey of empathy. So just to wrap up this section, really important to know that toddlers who caregiver consistently notices and responds to their needs are going to be more willing to take risks and explore. So being sensitive to the children's needs is very important. So what can you do to increase your regard for children's perspective? So we're going to ask you and look for you to be flexible. So when possible, you're going to adapt your schedule, any activities that you're doing to meet the individual child's needs and their interests. I know this is a hard one, but you're going to put on that music and let those children dance. When the children begin to dance during a story time reading, you want to go with the flow. And then we're going to provide opportunities for self-help. Young children, we all know, love to do things for themselves. So you're going to think about ways that they can help around the classroom that are actually meaningful, such as setting the table, taking out materials, or cleaning up materials. And then we're going to allow the children to really choose the pace of their learning. Allow them to work at their own pace when they're engaged in an activity, because this really is going to allow them that opportunity to master that skill involved in completing whatever task they're working on. So you don't want to interrupt that. And we're going to allow freedom of movement, because toddlers and children were meant to move. And since they learn through active exploration, you want to plan those activities that allow for this movement and physical motions. We also want to see children making choices, and you're supporting these choices by providing them opportunities to make choices and decisions that guide their work. And this will also help you learn more about your children's interests and abilities as you continue to help them make choices and learn about them. And then finally, we're going to encourage peer perspective taking. And we're going to help the children to begin to understand others' viewpoints by talking with them about their friends' feelings and what they can do to help them feel better. Once again, really starting to develop that sense of empathy for others. So finally, what can we do to be more effectively guiding our children's behavior? Well, first, we always need to provide very clear expectations. We're going to use simple and specific language so children can understand what you expect. We build with the blocks instead of don't throw the blocks. You're going to model and redirect. Model the behavior by showing the children how to have gentle touches or respect the classroom materials, and redirect the children with either gentle reminders or a touch or even a signal that prevents that behavior from escalating. You know your children, you can see before it happens what's about to happen, so try to intervene at that moment. And be very consistent. Responding in a consistent manner to behavior really reinforces those classroom expectations and helps children understand them. So be consistent. And then you're going to provide a strategy. Help the children know what to do when they become upset to regulate their emotions. They can go to a quiet area to calm down, or give children words to say when someone takes away their toy. Be proactive and plan. Anticipate times when disruptive behavior is more likely to occur and plan, perhaps during a transition or when certain materials are brought out. So be prepared with alternative materials for some children. Provide reminders before the activities start about what is expected, and then continue on. And then finally, you're going to plan ahead and be organized. Have your activities ready and available for children throughout the day to help them remain engaged in classroom experiences. You want to minimize that wait time. You want to go right from one activity to another. Toddlers are not meant to be kept waiting. So be prepared with anything such as songs, books, and games that really helps minimize that disruptive behavior and keeps those children engaged. So now we're going to move on and talk about that second domain, engage, support, and learning. And while we're looking at that, we see that engage, support, and learning is teachers facilitate activities that enhance children's thinking, reasoning, and verbal skills. Teachers build on the child's knowledge of the world and encourage persistence, motivation throughout activities. Let's see how we can do this. Well, we do this in 3 different ways: facilitation of learning and development, quality of feedback, and language modeling. Let's take a look at these 3 areas. So for facilitation of learning and development, you can see that teachers take an active role in the classroom activities and provide intentional support that guides the children's experiences and understanding. So teachers connect the classroom experiences with the children's actual lives and build on their skills that children have developed to help them actively engage in activities and further learning. There's also quality of feedback. And that is when teachers respond to the children's efforts and works in ways that expand the children's knowledge or help them accomplish a task. So teachers provide physical assistance or hints to help children engage in play or learning activities and perform them at a higher level and sustain their attention. Teachers also provide effective, specific feedback that allows the children to understand the process of learning. And then finally, we have language modeling. This is to the degree which teachers intentionally encourage, respond to, and expand on the children's language. Teachers model language by having meaningful conversations with children, repeating children's words, and extending their communication attempts and describing unfamiliar words for children. Okay, so let's take this into the classroom and see what we can do to enhance these different areas with our toddlers. So what can you do to better facilitate learning and development in your classroom? Well, we're going to continue to get involved in activities. As children play, you want to walk around your classroom and talk to the children about what they are doing. You're going to help them discover different ways to use the different materials by perhaps giving them suggestions or hints or asking them questions. And then you're going to build on what the children are already doing. So encourage the children to practice problem solving or building connections from past learning, and enhance their thinking by building on what the children are actively engaged in. So you're going to comment and ask questions about the children's activities. And speaking about asking questions is one of those things you can do to facilitate learning and development consistently. Ask questions that direct the children's attention to the activity and help them make observations related to their activities and their actions. You can, for example, say, which car drove the farthest, and have the child explain to you their observations. And then we're going to apply concepts to the real world to make it meaningful for children. So encourage children to think about other ways that they can apply what they've learned. So ask children questions to help them think about how to connect classroom concepts to their own experiences that provide opportunities to expand on their understanding and knowledge, such as if you see milk in a book and they have milk at snack time, you're connecting milk from the book to snack time. There's a connection there. There's a real life experience. And then we want to actively involve our children. Busy children learn. So provide them with materials or opportunities to always be physically involved in learning. We want to see building, drawing, throwing balls, bean bags, etc. And we're going to continue to ask questions and allow them to share responses or verbally participate in the activities. And then finally, we're going to make the most of routine times. So talk to the individual children during routines. We're doing a lot of hand washing these days, so talk to them during the hand washing time or when you're diapering them or during mealtime. This is a great opportunity to embed questions or provide learning opportunities. For example, during mealtime, you can ask, do you have more apples or crackers? Exploring the concept of more. So next we're going to look at what you can do to improve your quality of feedback. But before we do that, we're going to look at this video that is a great example of facilitation of learning and development. And we really want to make sure that you have a great understanding of this area. So we're going to play this video for you now. And if you want to add any of the examples that we have discussed and any of the observations, you simply just put those in the question box to participate while you're watching the video. And this one is another lovely example of just watching a teacher interact with her students. So this is called Dirt and Grass.
You want to touch it, Elliot? See how the dirt is like? Look on this side.
Like it. Would you
You
like
like
some
it?
more,
I like
Lady?
it too. Look on this side. It's grass.
Can we make a
You want to do what? Is that so silly? What do you want to? What do you think we should do with it?
It's flat.
Yeah, it is grass. How does it feel? Kind of pokey. It's long. Oh, look how long it is. You see how long it is, Elliot? What do you think about that? Tell me what you think about that grass coming out.
I see a red make a plant.
You want to go make something? You want to go make a plant? Okay, where should we put it? Do you want to walk around and find a spot to put it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Ellis is gonna hold it, and then I guess me and Elliot, we can walk around, and you can too to find a place to plant it. What about right here? You want to put it right here? Okay. You want to help me cover it up with some mud? You want to help Elliot put some mud around it so we can plant it? You come on this side. You want to get down and help me put some mud on it? See, we can take our fingers and just...
Look, my leg.
Did your leg get all dirty? It's okay. See, look at my hand. It got all dirty. It's okay. Oh, thank you. See, we'll put some mud around it and plant it. Do you think it will grow more? Yeah, it will grow more.
My hand is all dirty.
Yeah, my hand got all dirty too.
My hand's all dirty.
My hand's all dirty too.
My
That's so funny.
hand is all dirty.
Your hands are all dirty just like mine and just like Ellis's. Our hands get dirty when we play in the mud because it's all wet. We have to come back and check on it, okay? And make sure it's growing.
My daddy made a plant and it going down, boom, boom, boom.
Your daddy made a plant? Yeah.
Yeah.
We made a plant too. We'll have to come back and check on it.
And a big one, make a big one.
It will make a big plant. You think it's okay right there? Is that a good spot for it?
Yeah.
All right, so that was a great example of facilitation of learning and development in that toddler video. We had some people observe her asking questions to children and really being involved with them and what they're interested in. And what they were interested in was a simple plot of black grass. And she was able to make that into a really engaging experience where the children could learn from her while she was supporting all the different areas of our toddler tool. We saw positive climate, there's teacher sensitivity, regard for child's perspective, and of course, facilitation of learning and development. But I also heard quality of feedback and language modeling, which we're going to really discuss coming up next. So thank you everyone for your observations in the chat box. I appreciate it. So continuing on, I know it's a lot of information. We're almost going to wrap up toddlers. So what can you do to improve that quality of feedback that you provide? It's so important to keep kids engaged, or toddlers engaged. So we're going to find opportunities to give feedback. So there are so many opportunities throughout the day to give the children feedback, whether it's during classroom activities, routines, transitions, or simply playing on the playground. You're going to provide them hints, expand their children's understandings, and recognize their accomplishments. And we really want to focus on the child's efforts, not the products. So focus on the child's accomplishments and recognize their efforts when providing feedback. So provide specific statements about their work that really helps give the child individual recognition and knowledge that the actions, that acknowledgement of their actions helps them accomplish the task. And this is so great. We're going to ask children to explain their thinking, have them start to understand the thinking process. Excuse me. Because when children answer a question, we're going to ask those follow-up questions, such as, why do you think that? That is a tough question to answer sometimes. So you really want to get them used to those type of questions of explaining why they think that. Why do you think that's a circle? Or why do you think that is grass? To help them starting understanding why they think that's actually a circle or why they know it's grass. And then we want to create learning moments. So respond to children with new or expanded information about whatever experience they are having at the moment. So you ask questions and demonstrate an action or give more information that facilitates a new understanding for the children. And scaffolding learning is to provide children with that necessary level of support or hints, whether they need more or less help. Such as example, you can say, put your fingers in the holes and press to cut for assistance with scissors. Or if they need physical assistance, you can physically help the child when they're having difficulty opening and closing the scissors. Or you can help them verbally when they're having difficulty answering a question or do not understand a concept with giving them more information, but not giving them the answer. And then encourage persistence. So important for every child to want to be persistent in what they are striving to accomplish. So encourage the children to persist in their play and to keep trying whenever they encounter difficulties. For example, you can say, you are trying so hard to make that lawn train track. I think you can do it. Let's try again. Don't let them give up. Encourage them to keep on trying and persist. And then finally, what can we do to improve language modeling in the classroom? We're going to start engaging in more conversations. Encourage the children to use language by asking open-ended questions and by responding to the child's attempts to communicate with you, and use back and forth responses. You're going to use your words to describe your actions or the actions of the children, but this helps to build the child's vocabulary and language skills by labeling or linking actions to words. So you use that self-talk to describe what you are doing, and you use that parallel talk to describe the child's actions, such as, you are building with the blocks. And then we want to provide that time to respond to make sure we're understanding what a conversation is. So listen attentively to what the children are really saying. Wait for the child to respond first, or ask another question, or first before you ask that other question, or before you comment right away. Really wait for that response time, just like we have to wait for that response time in this virtual world and those chat boxes and question boxes. So we're going to also encourage to speak in complete sentences using a variety of words. So we're going to provide language to use. So provide children with words or phrases to help them say or extend on their understanding, to help them use the language. So encourage a child who is pointing to something to say, I want the ball, please. So giving them words to meet what they need. And then for language modeling, we also want to repeat and extend the responses we hear from our toddlers. So repeat back what the child has said to you, and then expand on their language by introducing either a new word or concept. So if a child says baby, you can respond by saying, you're feeding the baby. And then finally, once again, we want to name and label objects. Help children learn those new words by labeling or naming objects that they are exploring. Describe their events in ways that they can understand. So if when a child is playing with the cars, you might just say, you're driving the red car, to give language from abstract to understanding the concrete meanings. So that was so much information to support our infants and toddlers, but that will help enhance your classrooms. You are all doing wonderful. You're right on target with understanding our tool and the learning outcomes from our webinar. So I'm going to pass this over now to Agnieszka, who is going to deliver our last part of our presentation, all about our pre-K age students. So Agnieszka, take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie, for all these wonderful strategies and ideas how we can enhance that interactions with infants and toddlers. That sure is a lot of great information that I hope the teachers get to implement as soon as tomorrow morning in the classroom. So let's talk about the pre-K age, 36 to 60 months. So here in the pre-K age class, we have 3 domains. We have emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. See the difference? In the infant, we have only 1 domain. In toddlers, we have 2. And in pre-K class, we have 3. So first of them is emotional support. So how the emotional support look like in the pre-K classroom? It's very similar to infant and toddlers, because teachers help children develop warm, supportive relationship and experience excitement about learning, feel comfortable in the classroom, and experience independence. So having said that, we're going to move on to the poll, and we're going to ask you, what do you think about this statement? Providing children opportunities for responsibility increases their development of independence. Do you think it's true or false? So please cast your vote. Thank you so much for voting and participating. Well, the votes are coming so fast. Thank you so much. Okay, we have over 72% votes. They are slowing down. Oh, not yet. Okay, so, oh wow, 100% of you answered the true. That's true, exactly. So you do understand the learning outcome. One of our learning outcomes for today's training, to recognize how to facilitate effective positive interactions with pre-K children, because by providing children with activities that give them responsibilities, increases their development of independence. After respect and kindness, the most important lesson the children need to learn before they leave their home is responsibility. And individuals who are highly developed sense of personal responsibility is more likely to be no longer dependent on others and succeed in school, in the careers, and in life, right? So just to quote Maria Montessori, children are as independent as you expect them to be. So let's move on to the next slide. Now let's talk about those dimensions in emotional support for pre-K children. There are 4 dimensions in emotional support. So let's go over them. So positive climate, very similar to toddlers and infants. So the emotional connection, respect, and enjoyment demonstrated between teacher and children with other children. So between each other and with the teacher. The negative climate that we never want to see any evidence in our classroom is the level of expressed negativity such as anger, hostility, or aggression exhibited by teachers and or other children in the classroom. We never want to see those. So next one is this teacher sensitivity that is also similar when Stephanie was talking to us about the infants teacher sensitivity. Also teachers awareness of and responsitivity to children, academic and emotional concerns. And that regard for student perspective, except in toddlers, was regard for child perspective. Here will be the student perspective. So this degree to which teachers' interactions with student and classroom activities place an emphasis on student interest, motivations, and point of view. So let's go first to the positive climate and what can you do in pre-K classroom to enhance those positive interactions with positive climate in a classroom. So first, let's make learning fun and show enthusiasm, right? Look for opportunities to make learning activities fun for children. Laugh and smile. Happiness is contagious. So find ways to integrate things that make children laugh and smile into everyday activities. And if you are enthusiastic about activities, children will be too. Use positive words and gesture. Comment positively on children's efforts and participation, verbal affection, a little touches, hugs. Physical affection is also very nice for children. Who doesn't want to be pat on the back? Give children high fives, hugs, and thumbs up. Use children names when you talk to them and model the use of polite language. Please, thank you, and you're welcome. Have a positive attitude when working with children. Just show positive facial and body language. Ask children questions about their lives outside of the classroom. Show the interest and listen when they tell you about things that happen to them. Don't ever dismiss them. And avoid talking and threatening children negatively. Be mindful of the children's emotions. They are human beings just like us. Children learn better and develop positive social emotional skills in an environment that lacks of aggression, negativity, and sarcasm. So next, what can we do to be more effective and be more sensitive to children's needs? So why don't we notice how children are doing, monitoring how children are doing throughout the day and during centers, just walk around the room and engage in play with the children. During group activities, check to ensure that they understand the activity and they are ready to do it. Listen and respond to children. Take time to respond to questions or requests. Either respond immediately or let the child know that you heard them and will respond later. And ensure that the follow up with the children at some point later during the day. Don't forget, respond to children's needs. So be aware of how children are doing in activities. Maybe they are too difficult or too easy, and respond in timely manner. Have some activities prepared for children who are finished already. Maybe they're gonna get bored, so you need to have different level of difficulty for those children who are more advanced, and maybe some children who need more work. You can work with them individually and support them. Source of comfort and support, that's you in your classroom. Some children have had few positive experiences and might need to be taught how to rely on adults for support, so you have to be that person. Make statement to the class or individuals. Example, I can help you, and regularly provide comfort or assistance to children. That's why you're there in a classroom. And be responsive to nonverbal cues. Since children don't always express how they're feeling, check in with them, notice facial expression, body language to see if they need emotional or academic support, and respond as needed with comfort or assistance. Some children being in the childcare center for 10 hours, so that's a long day. We need to be very supportive. Try talking to children taking children's perspective. So make an active effort to take children's perspective during challenging moments. This might help with being less reactive and more responsive to children's needs. So these are some of the ideas that we could implement in our classroom to be more sensitive to the children in our classroom. So what can we do to increase your regard for child's perspectives? So here we want to support children's ideas, ask children questions to help them develop their own ideas, provide opportunities for children to talk, listen to what they say, and encourage their contribution to classroom activities. A time for child-initiated activities. So let them to select what they will play and what they will do during certain activities. For example, in center time, ask them what they want to do, and then learning opportunities in your interactions with children based on what they are doing and what skills you observe. So be mindful and let them tell you what they want to learn. Be flexible. Like Stephanie also mentioned with toddlers, when possible, be flexible and incorporate the children's ideas and follow their lead. Playing an active role will increase their engagement in activities. They will be eager to participate because that was their idea. Encourage mentoring. Look for opportunities to facilitate peer interactions where children can be experts on something and act like a leader during an activity, for example, leading a block building project. Monitor the interactions to ensure balance between support and independence, and allow choices and responsibility for children so they can develop that independence. Provide children with opportunities to make choices in what they are doing. Think about ways to increase their level of responsibility. For example, those classroom jobs. Many of you already do that. Allow freedom of movement. Provide activities throughout the day and allow children to be active during activities where the children are sitting for a while. Allow for movement that is not disruptive, sitting up on knees in the back row, for example. And remember, moving child is a learning child. So next of the pre-K class domain is classroom organization. So how the classroom organization look like in the pre-K class? That's when teachers help to develop skills to regulate the children's own behavior and maintain interest in different learning activities. So in the classroom organization, we have three dimensions: behavior management, productivity, and instructional learning formats. So let's explain what are those dimensions are about. Behavior management is how effectively teachers monitor, prevent, and redirect behavior. Effective behavior management provides children with specific expectations for behavior, clear and consistent rules, and then praise when expectations are met. Productivity, very important. How well the classroom runs with respect to routines and the degree to which teachers organize activities and directions so that maximum time can be spent in learning activities, not managerial tasks done by teacher. And instructional learning formats is how teachers facilitate activities and provide interesting materials so that students are engaged in learning opportunities are maximized. So let's see how those three dimensions we can enhance in our classroom day-to-day activities. So be proactive when we talk about behavior management. Be proactive, address problems before they escalate, and help children problem solve. You know your children, you know how to uh, uh, be proactive, and you know what something is coming when you see that little Johnny in the corner. Anticipate moments when misbehavior may occur and provide children with alternative behaviors. And be consistent. This is very important. Provide children with a predictable response immediately following misbehavior, and be consistent with children following classroom rules, and make sure the children know when the rules are or are not in effect. So you have to always go over those rules. Redirect children's behavior. So you have to monitor children, look for cues that indicate that children may be moving towards misbehavior, and immediately redirect with positive cues before the behavior escalates. Provide specific feedback so children know what they did right or wrong. So give children specific information about they are doing well, and encourage this behavior, and show other children which type of behavior is expected. For example, you can say, I like the way John is putting the cars away. And clearly state behavior expectation. Make classroom rules easy to understand, and regularly repeat rules. Be specific about the expectations so children know what behavior is expected. You have to be clear with that. So go over the rules on daily basis, even when you go on the playground. Explain what is expected from them. What are the rules going on the playground? And encourage children problem solve. Model for children and teach them problem solving steps to handle disputes, and so they learn how to address problems with the minimum assistance from you. This is our goal. We want them to learn so we don't have to assist them as much. And the next dimension, which is productivity. How can we be more productive here? What can we enhance in those interactions? So provide clear learning activities. Provide alternative activities for children who complete tasks early to include as much instructional time into the days as possible, and give simple instructions so children know what they are supposed to do. Minimize time spent on managerial tasks. I briefly touched upon this. Quickly take care of managerial tasks, for example, attendance, or during times when children are involved in other activities. If you have to do something, you do it before you are interacting with children, before they come to the classroom in the morning, for example. Be organized and plan ahead. Prepare for instructional activities in advance. There is no pre-cutting things sitting at the table with children when they have nothing to do and just waiting for you to finish pre-cutting stuff for them. All materials are ready and accessible. Practice lesson ahead of time with the daily schedule in mind, and make sure the children know the plan and give them clear instructions for what's happened next. It's very important that children always know what happened next. Make the most of transition. So come up with consistent and interesting routines to help children transition from activities. Think of different ways to embed learning moments when transitioning. For example, dismissing children from a large group activity to by color of their shirts they are wearing today. So have some system for transitions to be smooth. And remember, those are also teachable moments. So let's move on to another dimension. What can we do to enhance providing effective instructional learning formats in your classroom? So actively involve children. So plan activities that encourage participation from children, and think about different questions to ask and ways to invite children to participate. For example, pass out materials, count out loud, correctly respond, share their interests, have fun and joining in during activities, clapping, singing. And by demonstrating your interest and enthusiasm for activities, children will be excited about them too. And use variety of modalities. So provide interesting things that children can listen to, look at it, and or touch it, hands-on activities. Have things that will capture the children's interest and creativity. Provide opportunities for children to move when it's appropriate. Ask many questions. Ask questions that direct the children's attention to activity or discussion. If children do not have an active role in the activity, they can quickly lose focus. So you want to make them engage by asking the questions so they can get involved. And you get involved. Move around to different centers. Talk to children about their plans and what they are doing. This enhances learning opportunities by keeping them engaged in the activity for a longer period of time and develops their planning skills. Clearly state learning objectives so they know what they're learning. State learning objectives, the purpose of the lesson at the beginning of the activity. This will help children to focus their attention towards the learning objectives, and they're gonna know, oh, today we're gonna learn about, and there you go. So next domain in pre-K age children in class is instructional support, and that's the very important one. That's the one that is different from infants and toddlers. The third domain, instructional support. That's when teacher support children's cognitive development and language grow. That's the one that get our children ready for kindergarten. So this is very important part of the class too. So in instructional support, we have three different dimensions, and it is concept development, quality of feedback, very similar to toddlers, and language modeling, also similar to infant and toddlers, because we want to language model for all the children to help them with language development. So let's go over all these three dimensions and what are they pertains to. So concept development is how teachers use instructional discussion and activities to promote children's higher order thinking skills, in contrast to focus on rote instructions. How teachers extend children's learning through their responses to child's ideas, comments, and work. That's quality of feedback. And language modeling, that's the extension of which teachers facilitate and encourage children's language and help with that language development again. So let's talk about what can we do to provide more effective concept development? And this is very important. We have to understand the concepts. So help children think about hows and whys of learning. We're going to ask a lot of open-ended questions like how, why, how do you know? Explain more. And we have to get their attention on the process of generating solutions to a problem instead of just getting the correct answer. So we don't ask them yes or no questions, close-ended questions. We ask them those hows and whys to have them think. Link those concepts across activities. Choose learning activities that focus on similar concepts. So within a given day and across weeks and months, make clear connection among these concepts so the children can apply their understanding to new situations. So if they learned something last week about farm animals, what kind of farm animals live in a farm, and we want to talk about where milk coming from, then you can connect those concepts by saying, remember last week we talked about farm animals and one of them was cows, so, and that's where milk is coming. So you can connect those concepts with the previous knowledge. And also you need to teach them analyze and reasoning. So provide activities for children that involve problem solving sequences, comparing and contrasting. Ask questions that promote critical thinking, like how could we make it go faster? What can we do with that to work better? Why this is not working? What can we do more? How can we work on this? So have them analyze and reason why this is happening and why did not happen. So these are the questions that analysis for reasoning. Apply concept to the real world. Relate concept and activities to children's daily lives and experiences. That connecting concept to the real world makes learning more meaningful for children. For example, if we're talking about vegetables, talk about potato, you can explain them the potato is hard like a rock and round, but also comes with different shapes and forms. For example, french fries are made from potatoes. Connect to their real lives. Remember, you always have french fries from McDonald's or Wendy's. Those are made from potatoes. Children doesn't know that. You are the one that teach them, or the parents. And also explore concepts. Help children explore concepts by asking them to predict, experiment, and brainstorm. Praise children for giving answers to questions and encourage other children to think of alternative solutions to those questions. Give them some questions to predict and experiment. What's going to happen if we're going to put the rock in the water? If it's going to sink or not? Why did it sink? What's going to happen if we're going to put balloon in the water? Is it gonna sing? What do you think? Let's predict. Let's experiment. Let's brainstorm what's gonna happen. What do we need to build a farm in the classroom? Let's brainstorm. What kind of materials do we need? And then plan and encourage creativity. Come up with questions or activities that encourage children to think deeply and understand concepts more fully. Encourage children to explore open-ended materials and support children in brainstorming and planning before they make their creation. So provide lots of resources. And what can we do to improve the quality of feedback you provide in your classroom with the pre-K children? So here we want you to focus on the process of learning. When children give correct answer, create learning moments by asking follow-up questions. For example, how did you know that? Tell me more about that. Then engage in feedback loops. Feedback loop is after children respond, ask a series of follow-up questions to gain a deeper understanding from children. This helps you know if children really understand what you are trying to teach them. So have that back and forth exchanges, conversation, and pull up more information from the children. Scaffold learning. Provide children with hints when they have difficulty understanding a concept or answering a question to help them to get to the answer. Don't tell them all the answers. Don't give them all the answers. You have to ask more open-ended questions related to the topic and simplifying the question to support the child in responding, to make them think, right? Give specific feedback. There are many opportunities throughout the day to give children feedback. Example, when children are working independently, listen and respond to what the children have to say during group lessons and give them feedback. Tell them why they did something right, why didn't they do something right. So they need this specific information because they're gonna feel motivated and they're gonna understand. And encourage persistence. Praise children's effort and encourage them to persist in thinking about things or completing tasks, saying you are working hard as a team on this building, on building that bridge together. Let me know if you need any help. So encourage children to be persistent. So next, let's think about some ideas. What can we do to improve language modeling in your classroom, which is so important to help children develop that language? Because by developing the language, children more likely will learn more and they're going to be good readers and be ready for kindergarten. So let's ask more open-ended questions again and again. Ask those questions. What do you think? Tell me more, to encourage children to use more elaborate in language instead of just giving the correct answer or short responses. Use self-talk and parallel talk. Expand children's vocabulary and language skills by linking actions to words. Use self-talk to describe what you are doing. For example, I'm going to make a list of supplies for our classroom so we have enough materials for the activity I prepared for you for today. I'm pushing the huge truck, for example, child might say. Uh, when you model, use parallel talk to provide language for children's actions, so you can be almost as the sport commentator who explaining what is happening on the football field, right? You can explain, oh, John is playing with Alex and they are having fun. They're going to build a big bridge, and I see Amaya wants to play with it. So you just go around the classroom and do that parallel talk, explaining what is happening in the classroom. So you gave children more and more language by doing that. Have conversations. So have conversation with children during structured and unstructured times. Listen to what the children say and ask follow-up ended questions. And to just encourage children to contribute more to the conversation, just to having that conversation back and forth exchange. Use advanced language. Use variety of words, nouns, verbs, adjective, preposition, new and unfamiliar vocabulary, and connect them to familiar words or ideas. So you can, for example, give them more language and more variety of words, naming one thing. For example, fork and spoon. Let's learn how to set up silverware at the table. Just give them more advanced language. Talk about these different words in ways that relate to children's life. And then repeat and extend responses. Build on what children say and model more complex language, and provide examples for different ways to use language. So repeat back what children have said and then expand on their language by modeling and introducing concepts. So for example, if the child say, oh, that marker ran out, it's dry, you can expand, yes, ran out of ink and it's dry. So you can expand those um, children's expressions by give them more language. And then encourage children to talk. Give children opportunities for peer interaction and model conversations for them using clear language. Encourage them to share stories and talk with one another and initiate conversation with each other. So these are some examples of how we can enhance our interactions with children and in those three dimensions. So let's see the video that is demonstrating extending children ideas that the teacher did so nicely in here. I am very excited to see that video, and then we can discuss a little bit. So let's listen in. Okay, so that was a wonderful demonstration by the teacher how she was effectively extending children's ideas, right? So as you could see, the teacher asked and gave children time to explain what they were doing and why. She asked so many questions, and then when they expressed reasons behind their actions and what they were doing and their comments, teachers created new opportunities to expand children's learning. For example, when children were playing only with the little bucket with treasure pulling down, she asked if that's safe, pulling that bucket from the bridge. And she asked if that bucket goes down fast, is that safe? And the children said no. So what can we do? She asked to be safe. And children said, walk away. Oh, that's a good idea. She said, what else can we do to make it safe? We can make a fence, children say. And she said, yes, that's the great idea. And then teachers expanded even more by continuing asking questions. How can we make a fence? So the children were making a fence with blocks, and they moved to designing a sign to put on the fence: stay behind the fence, danger. So the teacher extended children learning opportunities from simply playing with the bucket to building fence and talking about safety and writing signs. So many skills were building on here, writing skills, cognitive skills, all those were supported here, but simply extending children ideas. That was excellent demonstration. So we want to extend children's idea, and just simple activity can go on and on for many, many hours. So I love this video. So let's move on now by frequency. What's frequency? This is very important. So as an early childhood educators, we should always consider the frequency. So that will be the durations and depth of our interactions with children to be highly effective. So those interactions, what's the frequency? How often are you interacting with your children? What is the depth? What's the quality? How meaningful are the interactions? Are you talking about important things or only about little things? So that's important. And durations, how long does the interactions last? So when we move to next slide, as highly effective teachers, we should always strive to be high quality interactions with our children. So it's very important how often, how much time, and how effective is the teacher while interacting with children. So frequency is the high range and is described by this verbiage here, like many, often, frequent, consistent, always, clear, effective, fully, actively, well-oiled machine. That's what we want to see by from teacher, how she interact with the children. So we're almost wrapping up the pre-K and infant and toddler interactions strategies for you. So in the end, we wanted to show you this baking our class cake. So what do we need? What ingredients we need for class to be successful, those interactions in our class. So we're going to start from the first layer of the cake. So we're going to get ingredients like positive climate. We talked about teacher sensitivity and regard for student perspective. These class ingredients support children's independent excitement about learning and trust with a teacher. Then we are ready for the second layer of the cake. So next we're going to add equal amount of behavior management, sprinkle with productivity and instructional learning format to help children get the most learning out of each day. These dimensions are also necessary in teaching children how to self-regulate. So that's going to help us with behaviors. And then only then we are ready to put our third layer of our cake. We have this foundation by positive climate, a well organized old machine by classroom organization, emotional support. When only then we are ready for the third layer of our cake, which lastly we mix concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling to ensure that we support cognitive and language skills and get those children ready to go to kindergarten. So those two layers are very important base and foundation, and then we are ready for the third layer of our cake. So next, let's talk about reflections. How do we reflect on our interactions with children? The more reflective you are, the more effective you are. By Pete Hall and Alisa Samar. I love this quote. So, reflections. Let's think about how can I make conscious effort to be fully present when interact with children. So have that interactions with children, have that positive climate, face-to-face interactions, eye contact. How can I focus on the needs of children as individuals and still consider the needs of the group? Give them those responsibilities, give them something to do, and plan appropriately activities for different types of children, uh, maybe different level of difficulties for different children. Are there appropriate ways to include children in any of the tasks I need to do? Give those jobs, give them responsibilities, build their independence. How can I help children begin to understand the process of learning and encourage them to think deeply? Ask those many questions, hows and whys, so they can think and come up with answer. Do I provide effective feedback by asking follow-up questions and providing information in response to children's actions or comments? Notice what you do when you provide feedback. Are you saying only good job, or you give them more information? What did good? What did they not? Just give them information. Think about how you have those follow-up questions with them. And then how often do I ask open-ended questions and statements to encourage children to use more elaborate language? Do I ask enough open-ended questions? Maybe you should make a list of open-ended questions for each learning center and post them in those. And every time you move to different center, you see that list of the open-ended questions, and then, okay, I have to ask them more questions. So those are those reflection questions that we encourage you to use to enhance your interactions with your children. So having said that, we had a lot of information on how to create positive interactions with infant, toddlers, and pre-K children across all class domains and its dimensions. So next, Stephanie quickly will wrap it up all for us, and then we're going to be ready to say goodnight to each other. So Stephanie, take it away.
Thanks, Agnes. All right, here we're going to connect the dots and really reflect and review on our learning outcomes and achievements for tonight. We really want to discuss how infants, we need to have those warm, responsive relationships with our infants in our classrooms every day consistently. And then with our toddlers, we discussed and found ways to help children develop those warm, supportive relationships and experience excitement about learning through effective interactions, giving them that support and confidence to take risks and try new things. And then with pre-K, we also looked at how to develop skills to regulate their own behavior, maintain interest in different learning activities, and also support the growth of effective interactions with all those questions and those observations and being there at the right time. And then we were able to ask ourselves some reflection questions, and we ask you to reflect on your daily interactions with your children and ensure that they are effective. So we want to share our references that we used tonight, which was our Head Start Early Learning Knowledge Center and Teachstone, and review webinar housekeeping. Finally, we want to remind you to click the download for our handouts. Our handouts are 5 different handouts that we want to share with you based on emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support, and also references and articles for further research on this topic if you are interested in extending your own learning. And we want to share, of course, our contact information. You can take a quick snapshot of that if you have any classy questions you'd like to send us. And of course, we want to thank you not only for being here tonight, but for all the work you do as a teacher, as we love to demonstrate our appreciation for you this week, even though you deserve appreciation each and every day. So thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. We hope to give you some tools and some ideas, and that you're eager to implement them as early as tomorrow morning in your class to try out some of those strategies. Thank you for all you do. Happy Appreciation Week. We love you. Night, night.
Thank you, Agnes. And please remember everyone to fill out that survey that's going to appear after we end the webinar and answer those 8 different questions that we have for you and the 5 post-test questions. Have a great evening.
Bye.